Hey, good morning. Welcome to Things You Might Have Heard for today, Wednesday, January the 18th, 2023. We will bring you what we like to call yesterday's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture. We tend to try our best being your go-to source for unconventional news stories that the mainstream news doesn't quite get into as deeply as we think we could because they're a quote-unquote conversational. So stand by. We're going to take care of you as your news side piece, giving you some of that good information care that you don't get from the mainstream. And as the teaser graphic shows, we are going to talk about the tease from yesterday, and that was Madonna and her weird, unconventional erasing of her social media. But we also have 7 other stories that headlines get to as well from the past day that you vetted as conversational and I curated for a better story, if you will. If we're not doing the stories that you like, well, we'll talk about that in about 12 minutes and mark here to go how that is worked out. So we'll explain that in detail. In the meantime, for more information about what we do in total about things at Things You Might Have Heard and the Conversation Project, just go to our website. This is a conversationproject.com. Don't go there now because we were kind of stuck in this conversation. So let's go ahead and get this conversation out first. 8 stories vetted by you, created by me. Here we go. Starting off with this one. This is sort of a makeup for a few days ago because I thought I had a story about Devin Willock and the crash that the Georgia football player was involved in after the championship game. But this is the details on the crash. The headline is Crash Report Cites Excessive Speed as Cause of Crash That Killed Georgia Football's Devin Willock. 2021 Ford Expedition crashed into an apartment unit early Sunday in Athens, killing Georgia football player Devin Willock and recruiting staffer Chandler LeCrae. Excessive speed was the contributing factor to the crash. We saw pictures, live feeds of essentially the area where trees were down and things were just sort of in destruction. And now we're getting basically the car was going too fast. Vehicle struck a tree, rotated counterclockwise, struck a parked Ford Transit van, and rested against the unit at Shoal Creek Apartments. Willock, 20, was a third-year offensive guard who started 2 games during the 2022 national championship season. LeCroy, 24, was a football recruiting staffer from Tococa. Two others with the football program sustained injuries in the crash. One was transported to the hospital with minor injuries. The other was hospitalized with serious injuries, and we're going to find out more about those going forward. No updates since that happened, but this is more details on the actual crash. I thought I had this in the queue when I had the story about the Alabama basketball player who was arrested for the attempted murder charge. I thought I had 2 things in that thing, which was going to be a really sad day. Now we have details on this crash as we have full details. So it's actually better to have full details of the story because it was pretty wide open when we got it at first. Still questions, but we'll see how they plays on. Video footage shows man attempt to kidnap barista through drive-thru window. Suspect arrested. This is pretty simple. Go to wherever you get this from, website, podcast, whatever, and click on the link in the description for this story and see the video of a man trying to pull a barista through a drive-thru window. Luckily, they caught the guy pretty quickly. It's you just have to watch the video. It's one of those things that the description does no mercy, no justice. Go to the website and watch the video of that thing. No video. Well, actually, lots of video came up with this story. Madonna wipes her Instagram in preparation for suspected tour announcement. So the day before, Madonna cleared everything out of her Instagram, every picture, every photo, everything out of her Instagram to come up with a sort of a pre-announcement of something to come for her 40th anniversary of being a pop star. What happened? Well, there was a sort of weird twisted game of celebrity truth or dare that essentially announced the tour is coming for the States in Europe. So there's a Madonna tour coming for 2023, and you can go to basically anywhere you want to and look for Madonna tour, and they'll have links to news stories and the video where you can see the weirdness that was Madonna playing truth or dare at 60 something years old and basically coming out to say not anything freaky, but there's a tour coming down the line. So the news is there. You got the pre and now you have the post. This is a story that happened, basically got originally covered mostly over the weekend. It was kind of quiet, kind of slow, and it just we filled the slot with something. We had a bigger story to kind of tell, a better article to read from, but it is one that does sort of say something about us. Man ordered to remove Jesus is the only way t-shirt at Mall of America. So let me go into some details of the details. A man was ordered by security guards to remove his T-shirt that read, "Jesus is the only way," in a viral confrontation that was sparked online outrage. The Mall of America's policy forbids, quote, "picketing, demonstrating, soliciting, protesting, or petitioning," unquote, on the premises. And the security guard said the man's religious tee still counted as soliciting, even if he was not actually actively preaching. So essentially, if you wore a Nike shirt, you were about out there, pumping Nike, essentially, which is kind of what he said. Two guards told the man to take off the shirt and go to Macy's. Not sure why, but the man was eventually allowed to keep his shirt on and go about his shopping. Many Christians were shocked to learn that the video was taken in the U.S. They said more people should wear Christian T-shirts in public places. A pastor even said the man should take legal action against the mall, and others saying that they plan to wear Jesus shirts everywhere in protests, if you will. Just a bad look. Just a bad look. A similar thing, not sidebar too long. When I was working in the radio, we had some talk on religions at some point in time, and we had a guy call in talking about wearing a coexist T-shirt. Coexist, those T-shirts that have all the different religious symbols in there and that spell out the word coexist, essentially saying we all have various different religions and we should all just kind of get over it and love our own ways and our own ways. And he was accosted by various people of Christian faiths because there's one way, blah 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 blah. So we do have issues with people supporting, saluting, selling their religion, and people proselytizing and promoting their religion at the same time. We have issues here in the States on that. If you're a religious person, if you believe in a faith, you should wear that faith literally on your sleeve. Yes, if you want to be demonic, but even though that's really just not being religious, that's just kind of being an ass. But if you want to wear a coexist T-shirt, wear it. If you want to wear a big old cross, just like a Celtic cross, like Sheamus the wrestler, all day long, and a big fat '80s gold chain, go do that. What is the problem? People being offended by their show of their religion, them tagging themselves with something, but not so much tagging you in the head with it. It always just makes me wonder. Now, the next story. Ron Jeremy found unable to stand trial for sexual assault charges due to neurocognitive decline. Ron Jeremy, who was literally a big part of people of my age, is growing up as, essentially a superhero of sorts, being Ron Jeremy, had dark Ron Jeremy tendencies that we did not know about. And now a Los Angeles judge declares him mentally incompetent to stand trial on dozens of rape and sexual assault counts. He will be placed in a state hospital for the next month for observation and to see what happens next. Of course, the porn star pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of sexual assault, including 12 counts of forcible rape, but due to his mental condition, not going to stand trial. Jeremy was a recognizable pop culture novelty, as I said, through reality shows, public appearances, and music videos. And, of course, was able to lure women and girls into secluded spaces and have sex with them, assaulting them not on camera as well, which is the bad part of this. He's one of the few men who were charged in the district attorney's task force set up to investigate entertainment industry sexual misconduct, and reports about things like Harvey Weinstein, things like that happening there. Although Ron Jeremy, not a power broker, just an actor, if you will, but having that juice to make things happen. But because of mental decline, mental incompetence, he's not going to trial. So your justice on this one may not be served as it should be. Critics' Choice Award broadcast draws record low viewership for in-person ceremony. By contrast, it was up against a lot of football, so that was part of the thing. It was also on the CW, which many people on the broadcast brought up the fact that it was on the CW, a failing network that's about to be sold and pick it off in pieces. And its average age of the watchers are in their middle 50s. The Golden Globes also had its lowest ratings ever on Tuesday, but NBC's broadcast of the AFC wildcard game between the Bengals and the Ravens did pull $21.2 million viewers. So NBC got a win in the big ratings this weekend, although their award shows are not pulling their weight these days. Getty Images is suing the makers of a popular AI art tool for allegedly stealing photos. So here's the deal: you knew this was coming because where do the Google Magic AI programs get their pieces for their AI art, which are stunningly close to looking like real people? Getty Images has filed a lawsuit against Stability AI, the company behind popular AI art tool Stable Diffusion, alleging copyright infringement. The stock image giant said Stability AI ignored viable licensing options and long-standing legal protections in pursuit of their long standalone commercial interest. Text to image AI systems like Stable Diffusion and DAL E are becoming increasingly popular and powerful. Shutterstock is partnering with OpenAI to enhance its AI generated content in the sense. But Getty Images, the stockholder of many, many photos from past, present, and for the future, of course, and very, very, very staunch on their copyrights, is having issue because the AI is pulling from various pieces and melding them into things that are unrecognizable in theory, but in some cases you can see that ear, you see that background, you see that place that was taken, and you can kind of paste it together and figure out that it's taken from somewhere particular. It may not be the most famous thing in the world, but it's something standard working that way. And finally, one light thing to wrap things up on today. Post Malone says he smokes about 45 cigarettes a day. He put a post on some Instagrams and did an interview with Whiskey Riff going on. And he says he does it because, Johnny Cash did it. It's what the old folks did. That's how he did it. The article notes Post Malone as a wildly positive artist who mixes hip hop, rap, and R&B. And he also seems like the nicest, most humble superstar on the planet, which he does. Seems like a really nice guy. And he admits he used to smoke in bed, but now he stopped that part. But he smokes about 45 cigarettes a day. He ain't giving it up because the old guys did it back in the day. And that's what he's trying to do. Be like Hank Williams and Johnny Cash, living legend in his own time right now. Let's go to our teaser story for the day. What we do for the teaser story is, we're going to explain how the feeds work right now. But we'll also tell you a story we may talk about tomorrow if you say this is one that's worthy of chit chat. And here is the teaser. The headline's a little bit different, as you're going to see in the posting, because we went with the short headline in the that the aggregator pulled out when we put the posted. But the full headline is this. You'll note it when you see it. Newspaper drag for printing MLK's "I Have a Dream" speech, but omitting key phrases on police brutality and poverty. So they're picking and choosing, picking at the famous speech and putting it up there for people to read, people to see, because it's history. Oh, that's great. The problem is they're censoring it and pulling out specific pieces that were kind of the point. We know the speech was written and then sort of ad-libbed in a piece, and some pieces to kind of go into some more dramatic pieces. But the point was the same. King was speaking out on police brutality, speaking out on poverty. He was shifting his message to a broader message, more than just civil rights, but just essentially anybody who was being oppressed and anybody who's being monetarily held back. And that's kind of the problem, because if you don't get the full context of the speech, you could just bits and pieces. It's one thing to take a clip of it and take a snippet of it and take a line from it, but it's something else to print the full speech and not print the full speech. Are we talking about this tomorrow? You let me know by just simply going to our feeds and engaging with the story as it comes down the line. It's going to be down in about an hour or so. This is a little bit into some of the cues, so it may take a while to get there. But any news story you see on our feeds, Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/TH_conversation. Those two websites, we post a news headline every 50 minutes. And so we're just looking for you to engage with them. You tell me what stories are worth talking about. That's how this thing works. It's conversational. You tell me what stories are actually worth being in conversation, and I will curate 8 of them to get into it. We'll take 15 of the top stories over the next 30 hours. I'll take 8 of them into tomorrow's headlines, and we'll do it that way. Will this one make it? We shall see. I will also tomorrow talk about a sponsor. Today's sponsor we're talking about is this one right here. It is Blinkist, Blinkist. And if you go to thisisaconversationproject.com/Blinkist, you can get a chance to get caught up on lots of great nonfiction and autobiography books right now. books that you can read or listen to. They take popular nonfiction books, they take popular autobiographies, and they put them into what they call blinks. Those are the main bits and pieces of information into the stories, into the books, into the works, and you can listen to them and read them because I'll give you the reading version and the listening version in about 15 minutes in most cases. So a 4-hour book can be read in 15 minutes or listened to in 15 minutes. Longer stories, longer books take longer time, but some of those things, like I listen to a lot of really long unabridged things that are 12 hours or more, and they have those books there as well. They may take, 30 minutes to 45 minutes because of the split. You also have links to buy the full book if you need the full book, and they also have shortcasts and other things to help you with personal development. You can get long form podcast things and some guided tours to things via the Blinkist app, which breaks it down into quick, easy ways to learn. Check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is an affiliate link, so we do get something kicked back for this, but it costs you nothing. Oh, by the way, you can share your subscription, so it's a twofer right there at Blinkist. The Conversation Project lives at thisistheconversationproject.com. It lives in the internet, it lives in the ether, in the cloud, if you will. And what we do as we live in the cloud, floating around like because we all float out there, is we do our best to do things that are conversational. We like to keep things in the know, in the business of just current events and news and pop culture. But we want to do things that make sure that people actually enjoy and people actually want to talk about. So at the end of the week, we produce the weekly wrap up, which is the pure data sense of the top 10 stories. Sometimes I pick a story because it's more engaging, I think, to people in the conversation, even though it gets less votes. We go the pure vote getters for that story. We have the open conversation, which is an interview with an interesting person of all sorts of different types of genres, talking about them, what they do. Maybe they're selling something. We'll then through a pitch and we'll see what they're feeling about some things in the news, getting their honest opinions, whether I or you agree with them or not. We also have the You're Welcome podcast, which is me going through something with some controversial statements and me saying those statements out loud, maybe not quite with feeling, but saying the things that people want to really say out loud, but they're afraid to, breaking it down into the naughty bits, if you will, of conversation and the thought process, because it may not be PC. And it is what it is. You're okay to think what you want to think. It's not okay to impose it onto someone else's will or to do ill will for other people because of that. If you don't like me, that's fine. You just are not allowed to, yell epithets or beat me over the head with sticks when I walk past you. We're good with that. I'm okay with that. But find all of that stuff about us, the Conversation Project, at thisistheconversationproject.com. And the most important things, sponsor pages and button and partnership pages, because that's how we keep the lights on, literally in the room. Now let's go on to the fun stuff for today. That is starting with birthdays, to today things, if you will. Today's we start off with birthdays for January 18th, celebrating the life of Kevin Costner, who is 68 years old and basically chopping up big time as a star for Yellowstone. Now, Kevin Costner has played various roles, more or less fatherly roles, more or less moral roles, and now he's a rancher who kills people to save his ranch, to keep up his family. It's like Dallas, but they actually ranch instead of drill oil. But it's people love them some Yellowstone, so much so that there's like 5 different spin-off series of Yellowstone because we're out of ideas. Dave Bautista, known as Batista back in his wrestling days, but Dave Batista, 54 years old, wrapping up his time as Drax the Destroyer. I'm not sure if he dies in the next movie, but he's basically done playing the role going forward. Getting all sorts of acclaim for things like Glass Onion, acclaim from various other things he's done so far. He's just a funny sort of actor. He's a great performer in the ring, and he's coming up soon in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, where apparently he kidnaps a family and tells them that they have to kill themselves to save the world. That's the synopsis I have so far. We're probably going to, well, my wife doesn't like seeing those movies, so I'll probably try to sneak that when it gets to streaming. Also, birthday twin, Jesse L. Martin, 54 years old. One of the stars of the original cast of Rent. I didn't realize how much Broadway stuff he did, because I remember him first from doing Law and Order. And then when the Rent movie came out, all the old actors came up playing their old roles, being really too old for the movie. Didn't realize what his background was there. And as I've seen a couple of things he's done, musical wise, Broadway's wise since then, and am very impressed. But of course, we know Mr. L. Martin from Law and Order, Dong Dong, and we're great for it. So birthday twins, Dave Bautista and Jesse L. Martin, plus Kevin Costner on the day. Today, we're going to highlight Gourmet Coffee Day, which is really weird because I literally go searching out for bad coffee on purpose. This is instant coffee because it's quick in the morning, and I only drink about a half cup of it. I make a supersized cup of it, but only drink about half of it over the process of what's going on. At work, I drink really, really bad coffee because, you know, I just basically fill it it's the ritual going forth. So I don't want to waste good coffee, but I also enjoy good coffee. I was a barista for a while and understand the process and all the love and joy of good coffee. So if you love good coffee, go get some. Today, I might actually roll through some Starbucks and get something Starbucks like for today, just to kind of sip on for a bit because I got a busy day today. In the meantime, enjoy a cup of gourmet coffee or rat gut if that's what you want. Most of the day, it will be the bad stuff, to be honest. Now, one more thing you might not have heard going out the door, and I'm going to butcher this name, but they're not listening, so that's okay. Ome Icon, located in Russia, is known as the coldest inhabited place on Earth, with temperatures dropping as low as minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It's no surprise that locals have come up with creative ways to stay warm. For example, residents leave their cars running all day to keep the engines from freezing, and they even have a special kind of vodka that won't freeze in the harsh temperatures. I thought vodka didn't freeze. Apparently it will up there. Despite the chilly weather, the people of Ome Icon have managed to build a community and even host a yearly ice festival to celebrate their endurance. So bundle up and head to Ome Icon for a truly unique and frosty adventure. Or don't, because it sounds really cold and painful and not all that fun. Frosty, not fun. And with that, we're going to wrap things up on this day. Today has been Tuesday. Actually, it's been Wednesday. Do we have Wednesday? No, we don't have Wednesday. Let's find Wednesday. We're going to do this. There we go. It's Wednesday, January the 18th, 2023. Forgot to do the closer slide in this list. We do that sometimes. Thank you so much for being a part of the show here today and being with us for as long as you have been. This is just your first time. We thank you for enduring what we have here and want to get your comments on what's going on. If you've been here for a while, you will have noticed some various changes in the last couple of weeks. How we are conducting business, both visually if you're watching the video or audibly if you're listening to this via a podcast replay. Let us know what you think about what's going on, what we should keep doing, what we should not do more anymore, and what we should try to add into the repertoire going forward. Trust me, there's a few more tricks that we're trying to get into this thing. We just hadn't quite figured out how to meld them in there quite yet, but we're working on it. In the meantime, we need you to stay hydrated. There goes the coffee cup in front of the camera again. Stay limber and stay on task for all the grand things you are set out to do for this grand year, 2023. It's been a mixed bag so far. There have been a lot of numbers that are skewing way to the wrong sense, but we've got a lot of time to right this ship. So let's go ahead and go for that. Posting new stories already. Every 50 minutes, go to our feeds at Facebook and Twitter and vote the stories up. And tomorrow morning, around 5:50, we'll mark down about 8 stories that you said were conversational. We'll see you guys tomorrow.